continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Many thanks for joining us once again here on Razep Africa. As you already know, here we give you all you need to know about happenings across Africa, just so that you can be updated and be informed about what's going on across this beautiful continent of ours. I am Dr. Joy Asonye, happy once again to be here, but I'm not alone. I'm here with a familiar face here on the show, Simbiat Amzat.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad that you're back.
So Simbiat held forth for me yesterday, and I watched from afar. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful segment. We should do that more often.
Yes, we should. Yes, we should.
Why do you sound stressed and overwhelmed? Yes, we should. Anyway, so we'll go for a very short break. When we come back from that break, we'll go straight to the African news update, giving you everything you need to know about top stories trending across Africa. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back from that break. Now we begin in Kenya, where airport workers have called off their strike after 2 days of disruptions that caused significant flight delays and cancellations at Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, one of Africa's busiest aviation hubs. Stranded passengers were left waiting for hours, with some forced to sleep on the airport floors as uncertainty grew over departures and arrivals. The strike was ended after Kenya's Transport Ministry brokered an agreement with Kenya Aviation Workers Union. The union had proceeded with industrial action despite a court order citing unresolved grievances, including delays in concluding a collective bargaining agreement with the Aviation Authority. Authorities now say that operations are resuming, although it remains unclear how long it will take for full normalcy to return. Now, Simbiat, this is very unfortunate that one of the busiest airports across Africa would go on such a strike. I remember when it happened in Nigeria as well. It totally shut down aviation activities, which was stifling, not just for businesses, but we saw it affect personal arrangements, all sectors. I remember it affected so many people. It's a nightmare because of the kind of roads that we have across Africa. Aviation is just the next option, air travel.
And then some people were even trapped in emergency situation whereby they had planned to travel for their treatments, but because of the strike, they had to like be delayed, and somehow it affected them even in ways that we cannot even begin to comprehend. Because imagine you've been scheduled for a surgery abroad, and then you are now delayed by a flight in your country, and then you have to reschedule, and the entire process of starting the process all over again sometimes is sad.
Yeah, and we've also had instances like that where, you know, we have business meetings worth millions.
Yes,
you
business meetings.
Yeah, and it has to happen on that day. You have job interviews you're going for, and this is an international airport, so it is really unfortunate. And you know, for normalcy to come to be brought, you know, if you change one flight, it affects, like, has a ripple effect across all other flight plans.
And then I read the story and I saw that a court order has been given, but the airport workers, they had to like dismiss the order and then still go on strike. But we are glad that the strike is back. Then the strike has been called off, and then normalcy has returned to the airport.
Most concerning also is that, I mean, we saw this in education. This is not peculiar to Africa. It happens also in several parts of the world where there are strike actions, there are threatening strike. We understand how important some of these workers are. It may be a small union, but we understand how important it is for a smooth running of the air travel. So I don't think responsible governments should allow
it to get to that stage.
Allow it get to a point where now you are having to apologize.
Everything is now brought into the limelight. What they could have settled in-house, and then immediately before it got escalated to that point, they should have settled it and then make sure that, okay, they do not have that issue in the first place.
Absolutely.
What they are fighting for, what the union are fighting for, should have been resolved right immediately it started. You know, sometimes our government, like the government in general, want to prove that, oh, they are the authority. Of course, they are the authority, and then the citizens do not have a say, or the citizens do not have the right to question their authority. But strike is one of the ways where the workers also used to
are able to vent.
They are able to vent, and when they strike, it just affects everything. It eventually affects the governments themselves, because government workers who will not be able to travel, they will not be able to do any of their businesses.
Absolutely, right. Absolutely. And I'm hoping that also from the other end, because this is something we consider, it happens a lot here in Nigeria where sectors are struggling. There were times when we had not just the cash crunch, but we had severe economic issues, and unfortunately, even at that, we're suffering strike actions. It was almost as if unions were not sensitive to what was going on across the country. We had a recession, and at top of that recession was some unions going on strike and asking for better pay. So while you have the leverage, also be human in your But
for them,
engagement.
For you to get to that point, like I said, for you to get to that point of them going on strike, there would have been series of dialogue, series of conversations that they've been having. Maybe because they are conversations were not listened to. So
what I'm just saying is, I mean, also giving the government a break, where sometimes because they have leverage, they come with ridiculous requests expecting it to be done and done immediately,
and
because they know
they're not ready to reach a compromise.
Exactly, they will not reach a compromise because they know what they hold. They hold the entire transport network of the government, of the country, in their hands. So while we try, while we also are ensuring that welfare is not overlooked, I also hope that we would have human face to everything that we do, because I don't know if they have necessarily gotten what they wanted, having held back the country for 2 days.
Like I stated earlier, strike is the only way they can vent properly, because immediately they went on strike and then the government had to step in and then it's called off in 2 days. Why do they have to wait for them to go on strike before the government resolves their issue? If the government already knows, so let's just not even make this happen in the first place. Let
us not get there, but let us also be respectful, responsible, and sensitive when we are negotiating. I understand that it must have held on for a very long time for it to have gotten to a strike action, but I also know how mischievous people can be when they know they have leverage. Oh, we're going to shut down air movement. Oh, we're going to do this. And that's also something we should be very aware of. We should not be quick to decide to go on a strike action, and I'm happy normalcy would eventually normalcy would return for those who have missed. And I don't know, with the flight insurance, who bears the brunt of this? Because the insurance would ensure that you're properly catered for. Ideally, some airlines may even give you, if it's transitory, may even give you accommodation and all of that. We don't see that very rife in Africa. I traveled and had an 8-hour layover, and I was not treated right. But then again, I just hope that normalcy would come back and we would see the air travel continue. I know that this strike action also affected a lot of Nigerians who were going for events, conferences in Nairobi, and the event has to go on, and so it was eventually cancelled. Who gets the brunt of this of these things that happen? That's one question we should ask. Meanwhile, Nigeria and Kenya are leading Africa's push into electric mobility as companies in both countries begin assembling electric vans and taxis locally using Chinese-made kits. In Lagos, for instance, a Nigerian firm has launched assembly of 18-seater electric passenger vans, describing it as a major step towards clean and fossil-free transportation across West Africa. Similarly, in Kenya, a Chinese-backed partnership has signed a multi-million-dollar agreement to locally assemble electric taxis and mini-buses. Both countries are positioning themselves as leaders in sustainable transport, seeking to reduce fuel costs, lower emissions, and build domestic manufacturing capacity. Innovative financing models such as lease to own and pay as you drive options are also making electric vehicles more accessible to operators. I like this last part of the conversation where you say you are not, it's very inclusive. Everybody who has, yes, pay as you go is absolutely one way that would help people. And that will happen better when financial institutions are brought into the play, where you say, I am in collaboration with this financial institution. The financial institution will broker the deal where you can get the vehicles and you now pay back to
understand when we say electric vehicles, and then I understand the power situation in Africa, in Nigeria, for instance. And I'm wondering if the vehicles will be solar powered?
Of course. I mean, we have several options. I also have a friend who one of these days I should bring to the show, who owns an EV assembling plant here in Abuja. And so what they are asking for, because we understand the energy infrastructure and the problems around it, what we're now asking for is, let's have stations, just like we have in America, let's have powering stations all over. Like you a lot.
To electric.
I hear people like you a lot, and I say there is no reason. Electric vehicles, you can pick and choose. I know people who would rather have hybrid.
I know there's a possibility. I'm just saying that we are still struggling to fulfill now. You see them on long queues and you're wondering what's the essence. Why can't you just go and buy the usual fuel for your car?
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying. The infrastructure around CNG and electric vehicles is just the problem that we have at the moment. Because I've also criticized government to say it was a wonderful idea to remove fuel subsidy. Let's have sanity in the petroleum and fossil fuel sector, our petroleum sector. So yes, I agree with you. Let's have that sanity. But I've also largely criticized government for not bringing infrastructure that would ensure that we have CNG points across the country in such a way. It's one thing to convert. I mean, I heard a lot of people say, come convert, the vehicles are here, the converting stations are here.
There are more converting centers than they are for refill. Yes.
Exactly. So that's the infrastructure that I keep.
So the problem here is much more than financing. It is more about infrastructure. Once the infrastructure is there, then financing can come next, and then
but people like you who can afford to have stations, CNG stations, are still unsure. That is, government cannot bring stations, build stations for CNG
licenses. Because when you
apart from the licenses, because the licenses is there, but Nigerians investors are still unsure of the acceptability and the reception that others will have. I went to convert my vehicle, and I wish there was. I really wish there was a cheaper options, or what's this economic term for pay small option, not mortgage now, but yeah, a payment plan that will work for my kind of person. But here we
for the conversion.
The conversions are so expensive, yes. And the only one for the Nigerian government, the only subsidized conversion that the program that the government had is for commercial vehicles, and I'm not a commercial vehicle. I just want to convert my own vehicle and make it hybrid.
That means they already assume, the government already assumes that private owners, they should have the money, because the struggle is much more on the commercial vehicles, and that is why it's being subsidized for them.
No, I mean, I can't argue how important it is for commercial vehicles to get
because
on
board.
At the end of the day, yes, it would reverberate on the grassroots,
the average citizens, like that would assist their daily transition from work to home, and then they get to pay lesser fee, especially because these commercial vehicles do not pay as much as to convert.
Absolutely.
They would subsidize the transport fare as well. So
absolutely,
I like the news about the electric vehicles, but
I absolutely also like the fact that it has a payment plan. And I remember having a conversation with someone who said there was such an initiative that was also brought to Lagos State. I don't know how far that has gone. I'm hoping that it also is a good one. It's like an e-hailing electric vehicle plan rather, but you pay as you own. And it got so competitive, a lot of people wanted a bit of it. I know people who you can install the electric vehicle station, just it's not a station per se, but you can install it in your home where it's I don't know how they do it. I saw it in America, and I was like,
the cost will be very, 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 very.
You can. It's still. It is still. No matter the cost, it is still way better than fossil fuel. And you need to also understand the environmental damage that fossil fuel does to our climate. So it's a win-win for everyone. You cannot compare it. If you compare the cost of fuel and all of that, the only problem in Nigeria is the infrastructure, where we do not have stations. Rechargeable stations scattered across the country. If you're traveling from here to just Gwagwalada and you run low on your power, where do you charge? But for now, we could do hybrid, where you could have your electricity and switch to EV electricity powered. You could go back and forth.
Yes, that's the same way the CNG
gas works. It's hybrid, where you could switch. I know some that are completely it has no space for fossil fuel, and I have friends here in the country that also have EVs, and they use it and they're happy. But then I don't think they travel out of Abuja with that vehicle.
Where they can get it recharged.
Even in Port Harcourt, I know people who have EVs and they use it, travel around, they come back home, they charge it at night, just like you charge your phone. You go to bed, you come back, it's charged, you move around again and come back. I cannot wait to have those options. And when we talk about EVs, for here it still seems far-fetched, but I was in countries where Uber were using Tesla EVs. So we're getting there, and I'm excited that Kenya and Nigeria and some other African countries are having their mark when it comes to EVs and clean energy and how cheaper, cleaner energy. Well, still in Nigeria, the government has issued a warning over the illegal recruitment of its citizens to fight in Russia's war in Ukraine. The Foreign Ministry expressed grave concerns over reports that Nigerians were misled and coerced into signing military service contracts before being deployed to combat zones. An investigative report recently revealed that at least 36 Nigerians were recruited by the Russian army, with several reportedly killed in combat. Similar testimonies have emerged from Kenya, South Africa, and Uganda, as Ukraine says it has identified more than 1,400 African nationals fighting for Russia. Nigerian authorities are urging citizens to remain vigilant and avoid offers that could lead them into foreign armed conflict. Again, this is what poverty can actually do to us.
Poverty, unemployment, unstable economy, because if we had a stable economy, there is no reason why. Because most of these people that travel abroad, they travel on the basis of, they've been promised some lucrative jobs, and then without knowing what it is actually about, they just go, and then when they get there, they're already tired. They don't have any option of coming back.
I think there was a Ghanaian that cried out that, oh, listen, I was told to come man a security firm here in Russia, but Ukraine cannot feign ignorance, because Ukraine also is coercing Africans to come over to join them. So we've also had reports, it's not just Russia that's doing it, but we also have reports that in Ukraine, a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Africans are also signing up. Whether they are coerced or not in the Ukraine instance, I do not know, but we have instances like that. In fact, a BBC, was it a BBC? I'm not sure, of the international media outlet that did an investigation on it, and even figured out the Russian woman that has been leading this charge. So
that's more like a case of human trafficking.
In some way, yes. Come fight for us, and these people aren't necessarily.
Funnily, most of the Africans that travel, they travel happily. It's not as if there's a gun to their head. Like they even want to experience it. They want to go. They would rather join the army there than come join the army in Nigeria. They would rather fight than come fight in Nigeria. But
because
sadly,
again, it is welfare. Again, is this same welfare that we keep talking about, where are we giving welfare good enough welfare to our military men here in the country? Do we do that? We often see instances where soldiers are screaming that imagine non-state actors have more sophisticated arms than they do, and then it's almost like a death sentence, sending them to those war zones. If I have to go fight, what's in it for my family? Should I die in the process? There are several fundamental issues why a lot of people would rather travel anywhere in the world and go fight there. And I made a joke 3 years ago when this conflict started. I made a joke. I said, as bad as this conflict is, as bad as we're seeing it in the news, if you give an opportunity to an African to travel there, they would still go. And I thought when I said it, it was still far-fetched. Even in my head when I said it, I'm like, maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe we love our lives more. But yes, these are individuals who see how bad it is, what's going on in the Ukrainian Russian conflict, and yet they still go. No matter what job I am offered right now. If this was Borno and I say come to Borno, would you have gone to Borno? You will not want to go to Borno. You will claim there's conflict, even if there isn't, just because of what has been said. But this is international conflicts, armed conflict.
But regardless of conflicts now, let's say, of course, Nigerians are abroad, they are everywhere, and they join the military. Do we have protections for them, that's for Nigerians or Africans that are recruited abroad? Do our country have protections for them, or we just like they are gone and that's it? We do not look back, we do not look after them, even because they are no longer in our country. But that doesn't take away the fact that
you forget something. Listen, we're addressing a serious issue here, which is welfare for our citizens. And now you're saying you that has gone. I mean, if you get there and you go to a high commission and you cry out, of course you will get help, you will be repatriated back or whatever. But I'm saying that it is stretching it to ask our government to now come to your aid when you took that decision to find your way there.
I'm still a citizen of Nigeria.
You're still a citizen. We will protect you nonetheless. I mean, we have instances where people travel to mountains and very steep places, and then they call government, please send in a helicopter, I can't come down. But you're a citizen of the country. The country must take responsibility for you. Yeah, that's keeping it aside. You're intentionally stretching our facilities. As a matter of fact, you should be charged for it. However, so much has to be done, because diplomatically speaking, if Ukraine is crying out that they have spotted over 1,400 Africans fighting for Russia, diplomatically speaking, it could mean an alignment with Russia. Ukraine could consider Africa aligning with Russia, not knowing that these citizens are just taking isolated decisions to say, you know what, I just want to go fight, I just want to fight for and make money and be paid handsomely for my village people, so that we could make ends meet. Because the truth is, it is not because those Africans in Ukraine or in Russia have sentimental attachment to the country, or have they really want to align against Ukraine per se. It is economically motivated.
It's more of survival.
There's just survival. I want to go there. If I have to fight to get monies to send back to my family back here, I would do it. I've seen a lot of Nigerians say, Omo, I would go if I have to fight, and that's the Vox Pop we would do, and see and gauge the thoughts of people. Would you fight in a foreign land during these conflicts that we have? Would you fight in Gaza against Israel, or China against Taiwan, or would you fight in Congo just so that you can make ends meet? I would like to hear what Nigerians have to say, but we have to be careful. These are countries that ordinarily, if Nigerians want to travel there, they are stiff immigration policies. How come you are allowing others go? What are they?
It simply means that they are intentionally putting the Africans or the Nigerians on a death trap, because they know that, oh, we would need these people as like a bait, because of course if the war gets heightened and then they send Nigerians there, they would rather send we Africans there than send their own military personnel.
I remember, I don't know if we have all forgotten, if Africans have forgotten, during the evacuation of people from Ukraine, that is why I don't think anybody is particularly innocent in all of this. During the evacuation, the color of your skin determines whether you had a pass to the bus. Evacuations were being done, and a lot of Africans were crying out. A lot of Africans that were schooling abroad cried out that it was terrible how they were being treated. To have an opportunity to be evacuated was terrible. They would not give.
So automatically, once you're African, you just get, you're not on their priority list.
You're not on their priority list. No, it was that bad. A lot of Africans died because trying to escape using any other route out of the conflict-prone areas. The evacuation was horrible. Africans were not given the opportunity. This is something that you could go and search up. So for you to say these are still the countries that offer you opportunities and you don't remember, you know, when we talk about racism and how we Africans suffer it, you would think leaders will look back and do all it takes to make us so self-reliant that we will be so respected all over the world. But we are not doing that, and so we still, unfortunately, no matter how we are treated, we are thronging into these countries and still having these unfortunate conversations of our young people being coerced to go fight in foreign conflicts. Foreigners that do not care so much for you. It's really unfortunate. And I don't know if you saw the video of the lady who's been coercing, who allegedly has been coercing these young men. And yes, in Russia, actually coercing Africans to come join the war. She was even interviewed, I think, and it was horrible to see what she had to say. I know they were coerced to come man security outfit, come. Well, how can you go man security outfit in a war-prone conflict?
Maybe they would make the offer very enticing. That
the offer is enticing. The offer is enticing at the expense of your lives, and we have lost some Africans as well in all of this. There's a Ghanaian that died recently in that conflict, in that war right there. It's unfortunate, but diplomatically speaking, African governments have to be very careful. You are inadvertently proving or showing your alignment. Meanwhile, governments have been very intentional about staying neutral in the fight. So let us be very careful in the decisions we make, just because we want to get economic value for our village people. But it's time to go for a short break. This is still Razep Africa, where we are going to update across Africa. I hope you're enjoying it so far, because we still have so much more. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
If you're just joining us, this is Razep Africa, where we've been having so many conversations around stories trending across the continent. And we are moving now to East Africa, that is Ethiopia and Turkey have signed a new energy cooperation deal agreement during President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's visit to Addis Ababa, his first in 11 years. This memorandum of understanding is expected to deepen collaboration in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and electric power development. Turkish officials have said that the agreement will serve as a roadmap for joint production projects, including installation of hydroelectric equipment and electric turbines. The deal further strengthens Ankara's growing strategic partnership with Ethiopia as both nations expand economic and diplomatic ties. Simbiat, I can almost always preempt that when we come here, we're going to see an agreement with one African country, with a European country. Deepening ties, strengthening economic alignment and trade. I can almost preempt that every day when we come here, there is going to be a story about some agreement here and there. But
this is for the good now.
It's always for the good. It's absolutely always for the good. But let's go back. If this agreement were so good over the years, why are we where we are? What's going on? We have agreements in electricity, in energy, in petroleum, in trade ties. Why are we not seeing that level of development that you would expect in Africa if this ties, deepening ties and agreements and all we often do is
absolutely
working.
There should have been like a significant progress level that would be very obvious, that you don't even have to question the alignment or the agreement in the first place, because of course you are seeing the agreement. I know that it used to be China, and now that Turkey, right, is now a better alternative, is positioning himself as a better alternative to China, because we don't have to always depend on China now that there is another country that is willing to take up that alignment, like you said.
Yes, and it's almost, when you listen to the president, the United States president, it's almost as if because China has created inroads for themselves in these partnerships and in these trade alignment and economic alignment and deepening ties and all those buzzwords that we often use. It's almost as if, China is taking over Africa, so for that, let's see what deal we can strike. And it's an awakening. All of a sudden, everybody's like, okay, let me see what we can do in rice production. Let me see what we can do in energy production and exchange. Let me see what project we can build here. Is it against China, or you have good intentions, is the question that I have. And are we having, the question I always ask when I read about and discuss this issue here on the program is, do we have corresponding and mutual benefit for the African governments that are so quick to go into this strategic partnership, deepening ties, and all the buzzwords? Do we have that? Is the question I always ask when I see a lot of these partnerships.
But undeniably, Ethiopia has been suffering from power issues for a very long time.
Which African country hasn't?
Well, maybe, no, of course, all African countries
have their fair share of energy issues, of course.
But now seeing a country coming to collaborate with you in terms of what you are suffering the most, of course, you are going to take the offer. You are not going to look at the fact that, maybe there may be an ulterior motive, but the first instance is like to take the offer and see what good comes out from it.
Absolutely. No, I have no particular business against this offer. I'm just asking for mutual benefit for the African governments, for the African people as well. I mean, economic boost is what we absolutely need. But I do not think we often understand the leverage that we come from and have this agreement from a strategic point of view, and with one that puts Africa first, the one that puts your nation first. That's the argument I often have. It's almost always as if you shoot yourself in the foot. Now, there's There's an article I read some time ago where it said, where the person was trying to, I do not agree particularly completely, however, the person highlighted how some of these agreements favor not necessarily the country, but the people who make this agreement happen, the public office holders who make sure that the agreement come to fore. So for instance, you're the Minister of Steel, and there's a steel agreement coming, and then because you want to have benefit, these people come and say, oh, we're going to give scholarship to your children. We're going to give you slots for people who can come and have jobs in our country. We're going to do this and give you this financial benefit. Your benefit, you can now sign deals that do not necessarily benefit the entire country. That
just for your own
just because of what you stand to gain as a president of a country. You then say, oh, we're going to ensure that you meet our president and we have economic ties. Remember that the typical African president has imposter syndrome. If you tell them you are going to meet Donald Trump, for instance, they are over the moon. Meanwhile, you sit in wealth. You sit in wealth. You sit in not just natural resources. You sit in a country that enjoys arable land. You sit in a country that has the energies of the youth. And yet, when I tell you, I'm going to take you to the Prime Minister of Canada, you're over the moon. And that's what we see all the time, where African presidents are summoned basically to all over the world, and you see them in excitement with their entourage traveling across the world to go have these meetings and feeling like they are honored to be in the presence of these other leaders, where you could make your country so developed that you will be sought after from a place of leverage. So that is the argument I have whenever I see this strategic partnership, deepening ties, agreements, and all of that.
Same here, I agree. As Nigeria, or as Africa as a whole, we are supposed to have gotten to the level whereby we are sought after. We don't have to always put our country or our nation at the back end and like, oh, we are going to follow whatever the foreign nations say. Okay,
so still reiterating my point, let's go elsewhere. In Algeria and France have agreed to restore high-level security cooperation, marking a possible thaw in strained diplomatic relations. The breakthrough came during a visit to Algiers by French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez, who met with President Abdelmadjid Tebboune. Relations between the two countries have become tense, particularly after France backed Moroccan sovereignty over Western Sahara, a position opposed by Algeria. Both sides now say they will reactivate cooperation on policing, intelligence sharing, judicial matters, and migration issues, including the readmission of Algerian nationals living irregularly in France. You see what I'm saying? You see, here you say the readmission of Algerian nationals living irregularly in France. So we pick and choose who is irregular. Very soon, the irregular or illegal Algerians will be considered legal. You just come and say everybody who is in the country who is of Algerian descent could now come and get...
That would be one of the benefits of the strengthening ties and deepening, because of course
this benefits the country. How? Because those who are living in France, for instance, and again, we have to be very strategic. If you follow history, those who are living irregularly in France are not necessarily able to send back foreign direct investment or make so much money. If you have to leave a country and leave a country illegally, leave your country and go to another country illegally, half of the time is because you don't even have the papers to do so. You don't have the knowledge to use illegal pathways. If you don't have the knowledge, you're probably an illiterate. You were not even giving your country value in the first place, you're going to be a burden to the other country. So even if you are regularized, as the report often says, you're probably not a degree holder, none with skills that will contribute enough to send back remittances to your country. So good riddance if you ask me. So this I don't see as a benefit or some value that Algeria stands to get in this agreement.
And the twist can even be that this reconciliation is even temporary, like it's not even permanent.
It's always temporary. It's always temporary, because when push comes to shove and you see hands-on where France finally aligns, because remember what caused the rift, so to speak, in the first place, where it was alleged that France was backing the Moroccan sovereignty against Algeria and all of that. So is France denying that? It is going against its relationship with Morocco at the moment? These are questions we need to answer. But I'm happy we're going to again see cooperation in policing, intelligence gathering, judicial matters, migration issues, and again readmitting, like it said, readmitting nationals, the Algerian nationals in France. What Nigerians will give to have such an opportunity, because I know how many Nigerians are probably not living
in Nigeria,
living in France legally. But it's good to have this realignment. The question I will ask and probably ask forever is it mutually beneficial to your people? Now we move over to the United Nations, where it is calling on a rival authority in Libya to urgently reform their treatment of migrants and refugees. A new report by the UN Human Rights Office and the UN Support Mission in Libya details systemic abuses, including murder, torture, sexual violence, and human trafficking. The report urges a moratorium on returning intercepted migrant boats to Libya until human rights protections are guaranteed. It also calls for immediate release of thousands of people held in detention centers, describing what it terms as an exploitative system that has become a brutal and normalized reality since Libya became a key transit route to Europe following the fall of Muammar Gaddafi. Well, we discuss Libya all the time here, and unfortunately we can't stop discussing Libya because of how important it is, not just in resources, natural resources that it enjoys. We also have to discuss it because it's a serious and very important travel route to other countries. There was such a time that reports had it that the biggest organ harvesting, illegal organ harvesting syndicates were in Libya. If you find yourself in Libya, you are at the risk of your organs being
over
harvested.
A decade, Libya has been in this issue for a very long time, and I keep wondering, why has there not been a proper resolve to it? Because since I was a kid, I've been hearing about Libya and this migration issue. It has been a long time coming, and it's now time for us to now look at it. And who are those people that are benefiting from this illegal network routes? Who are those people benefiting from it to the point that they don't even want it to stop, and they want to keep on being in that bad light in Africa, or even across Nigeria, across the world rather?
Well, I'm happy that the UN Human Rights Office is looking into it. And one thing I always appreciate with reports like this is it brings to fore what is indeed going on in these places where there is conflict. Systemic abuse is to be asked for. Back here in the country, in Nigeria, we also have recorded so much abuse for people who are fleeing conflict areas and in IDP camps. We also have not just abuses, we recorded several abuses, not just by people, fellow IDPs, but by those whose job it is to protect you,
to protect you and look after them.
But Libya, we have to do better. like the UN is asking for a moratorium just to ensure that it gives that time, give them a certain amount of time to depart, you know, and then continue your this thing. But these individuals, give them time to migrate and don't intercept their boats. Absolutely. So I'm hoping that that will be settled eventually. Finally, in Ghana, the United States Embassy has opened more than 1,000 new visa interview slots for B1 and B2 non-immigrant visas. The move offers relief to applicants who have faced long waiting period for business and tourism travels to the United States. The embassy says the additional appointments will become available within the coming week, allowing those in later interview dates to reschedule for earlier slots. Despite tighter immigration measures affecting some immigrant visa categories, officials say they are working to ease backlog and encourage applicants to begin their process early, particularly ahead of the major global events such as the upcoming FIFA World Cup. I think, well, I'm happy that Ghana B1, B2 visa has been opened up. A lot of consent. It's not just about the World Cup. The United Nations in headquarters is located in the United States. So a lot of international events that shape the activities of the entire world is done in the United States. I know a lot of people who often travel back and forth to attend this event and contribute and also open, or, you know, have a platform to tell the world what's going on in their countries, that this visa ban has absolutely affected. And I'm happy that the U.S. Embassy in Ghana is doing something about the B1, B2 tourism visa to enable FIFA participants to also join. Very unfortunate what's going on. I'm hoping that it also opens up for other parts of the country. There was talk sometime about the possible moving of United Nations departments, not just all domiciled in the UN, domiciled in New York, but to move it to other parts of the world, so that it just relieves it when a president comes to say, no, we can no longer have opportunities for people of this descent to come to our country. You would have options. You no longer must go to America. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's intentional, and I don't know if it has far-reaching economic consequences, but we also are having a lot of people find other parts of the world as travel destination instead of the US. People are taking their businesses elsewhere because it's becoming too wrought with too many issues. If you have to go to the US,
why are visa wait times always often longer in Africa than other regions?
Because we have more people in Africa trying to travel. It's not a
stereotype thing.
No, it's not particularly. No, it's not a stereotype thing. I can tell you the backlog is in thousands. Open up, for instance, just drive past the U.S. Embassy, for instance. I mean, before the ban, you would see a long line of people daily. A long line of people. As you are trying to even book an appointment for visa appointment, you will see that this day is unavailable because it's been fully booked. This day is not available. This day is not available. It is that bad.
So you're saying it's much more in Africa than every other?
I don't think, I really do not think that America is a travel destination for other countries like it is in African countries. I'm not sure what America did. But then again, we grew up watching American movies, listening to American movies. So somehow there is the dream to go to this place where you will see Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those stars that we grew up watching. Somehow America, whether they knew it or it is inadvertent, they sold to us a dream. Whether we want to admit it or not, they were intentional in their movies, in their music, in their culture. Somehow they sold to Africans a dream. And so we want to go to America and have a part of that dream. I remember when I traveled to America for the first time, I'm like, exactly what is here? This is Lagos, if you ask me. The only thing is the skin is different. The hustle and bustle, the dirty streets, people sleeping on the side of the street. Yes, it's in America. And I'm like, hold on.
Is this the America?
Is this the America we're talking about? I was in Manhattan, one of the top cities across America, and I'm like, hold on, why are people sleeping? I had to have pictures. Yes, I had to take pictures with homeless people to prove to my Africans that it's not all rosy here. It's so bad. People don't even have time to relax. Like, you and I will come and say, we are at work, but let's go have an elongated lunch. You cannot afford to do that. And what is the destination? What is the attraction here? Long buildings, just like you will go to Lagos and find, you will see skyscrapers, you know. But they sold us a dream. They sold us a dream that is getting all of us thinking of America as a destination. Well, I'm happy that it's gradually being relieved, and we're seeing Ghanaians able to have the B1 and B2 visa.
We are hoping that the goodwill will extend to other African countries too, and not only Ghana.
You are hoping develop Africa. Let's see if Americans will not be rushing into this beautiful continent of ours that still has nature and beautiful, hospitable people. But this is where we end today's edition of Razep Africa. I've had a wonderful time going through stories that made frontline this morning across Africa. My name is Dr. Joy Asoye, urging you to stay tuned here as we will come back again next time with so much more.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that